distribution places. Don't want to accidentally go live on my fucking Facebook and my fucking page. Yeah, we're good. Go. We're recording.
Oh, like.
Oh, do you want me to do the thing and then you do the other?
No. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live here. I'm Andy.
I'm Arnie.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a movie review. Just a little bit.
No.
So today's movie is by Disney Pixar. It's called Soul. And Soul is about Joe Gardner, who is a middle school teacher with a love for jazz music. After a successful audition at the Half Note Club, he suddenly gets into an accident that separates his soul from his body and is transported to the U Seminar, a center in which souls develop and gain passions before being transported to a newborn child. Joe must enlist help from the other souls in training, like 22, a soul who has spent eons in the U Seminar in order to get back to Earth. I think that's that's a good start. Arnie, I love these kinds of movies. There's something about this type of movie. I was kind of mentioning to you that there's always been this scale, this type of movie, which is movies like Heaven Can Wait, Down to Earth. These movies where someone's taken a little bit too soon before they've gotten their big opportunity. Heaven Can Wait is about a guy who wants a shot in the NFL, and he gets his tryout. He goes to tryouts. He's made the team, and right before he gets to play his first NFL game, he gets a little too excited and somehow loses his life. And that's it. It plays this whole thing kind of similar to a It's a Wonderful Life kind of, some angels come down. They got to hash things out to get this guy's body back in there. Down to Earth is the same thing, but with a comedian aspect. They made another movie like this called Here Comes Mr. Jordan. And that movie was about a boxer. So these remakes happened in in 1943 and the 1970s. The one that Down to Earth came out in 2000s. They all happened about 20 to 30 years apart. And so it was time for this movie to come back. And I love that. And I'm excited that this movie came back as a somebody for some young adults who need this movie. And so I was really excited to see a movie like this. Or when I found out it was this type of movie, I was really excited. It's a Pixar in general. So Arnie, what did you think of this movie?
Dude, I love these movies. These movies are nice. They're like I told you before, this felt like a quaint movie. It didn't feel like a big overarching story. It didn't feel epic in scale. It was small. And I think that was by design. These kind of movies always are, because they really are about examining a life. One of my favorite ones in this genre is called Defining Your Life. It's a really good movie. It came out, I believe it was in the the early 90s. It stars a beautiful Meryl Streep and Albert Brooks as well. These movies are always which again, that one's also a comedy, which comedy is a really good way to examine life because it just kind of plays that way, life.
Yeah.
Because real comedy is life. All about what it's actually happening in your life and things like that. And I really like when the reason these movies are so good to me and I like them is because they are about lessons, and they're about understanding the way you work and figuring out your bullshit.
Bigger picture lessons, right?
Yes. And Soul in particular was just it hit all the same notes. It had the same whimsy that comes along with these movies, and it definitely has that same really well thought out grace and really well heartfelt message that just is nice. It's a nice movie, and this is a nice movie genre, and I really enjoyed it.
I like that you said it was quaint. It does remind me of a Pixar short, like the movie that you saw before the movie, which have always been really good. I remember the most recent one was Bao,
Yeah, yeah,
Bao was just like,
yeah.
it's just like, why are you going to make me like just cry? Like just these like massive tears before like watching Toy Story 3 or something. Like,
Yeah.
you go to see something that's like fun for the kids, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're trying to like hold down some tears.
Yeah.
But that's what just came to mind when you said like quaint, and because it does remind you of a elongated short, because these Pixar films, they do amazing work, and
Absolutely.
because it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to get an animation done like this, especially with this magnitude, this size.
Yeah. And I do feel like the biggest thing that kind of makes it feel that way is the fact that this movie doesn't have a lot of characters, right? It really is a movie of two. It's an ensemble of two, right? For most of it. And it's about these two characters, not just like finding out about each other, 22 and Joe, but really finding out about themselves and figuring out what they want to do in life. And I love when Pixar does that, because a lot of their movies, like Toy Story, filled with character, filled with all kinds of gags and just things happening in every corner. And this is just really a nice dialed down story. It's got some regular beats to it. It's got that like Freaky Friday vibe in the middle of it, right? When 22 takes over the body, and it's like a fish out of water story. And then in that is where the really good character moments happen. And I just really love that. I love a part of this movie takes place in the afterlife, and they find this guy who like goes around the world and like in a ship, right? And he just like finds lost souls. So that really harkens back to a couple of who's do you like the guy who does the Monty Python movies? I forget his name, but there's this movie where like Time Bandits. It's like it feels like a Time Bandits kind
Yes.
of homage, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like these guys like going in through this whimsical world and trying to find souls in this weird out world where it's kind of infinity but not. I really like that a lot. And I think the story and everything just really kind of comes together in a really nice facet way. You feel for the characters, you really do. That's the thing that Pixar does so well, and why they take so long with a lot of these projects. They really want to make you connect. I do feel like this may have not been the best kids movie, because it was, because it was.
I said young. That's why I said young adults.
Yeah,
it's very young adults
for sure. Like, because it didn't really like there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot to really take your attention off things. There's a lot of melodrama in the character moments in this movie, like in the moment where Joe is helping 22 put on his clothes, right? And then there's this moment where he like looks at actually the moment where like they're walking around and like 22 in his body is like experiencing the world, and then Joe as the cat looks at her being him and realizes that she's enjoying life. She's just like enjoying everything that's happening around her, and like that moment is just like a really encompassing like microcosm of what this movie really is.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. Because what I loved, how did they do this? I feel like with my eyes in the movie, you see that moment the first time, and you're kind of like, you kind of have that exasperation. You're like, oh, come on, they got to get going. You got to fix this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's Pixar's telling us in our head, just saying like, the first time you might experience this, you might not see what life is actually giving you. You know what I mean? You might not experience it to the full. And then when you reminisce on it, you remember those moments as like, I should have sat down and taken a breath of air. And that moment when I had it. And I love the little moments like that in this. But you speak about the characters, and the characters were phenomenal. I'm looking at this cast, and I was gonna say at first that this wasn't like one of those big shot, Toy Story casts, but I mean, it is still huge. I mean, you have Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey portraying those two characters that you see the most often, and the Moonwind, who plays the pirate, he's played by Graham Norton, which he does a phenomenal job. He's the perfect hippie for this. And then like as you go down, the little people that you meet are really great characters. You meet Liba, the mother, who's played by Felicia Rashad, who is the mother of every sitcom. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
she is mom. Like when you think about that, like Felicia Rashad is mom in every way.
yeah,
Questlove is the barber. You see Dorothea, who's one of the other like seamstress. It's played by Angela Bassett. David Diggs is Paul, the um, the kid in the barbershop who's like a little bit angry at life.
yeah,
But so like there's countless. There's great depth in this cast. Those are just some of the other name drops. Elise Braga, she's like the only. She's the female in I Am Legend. It's hard
yeah,
to
yeah,
like.
yeah, 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 yeah.
There's two people. There's two people.
She cooks the bacon.
Yeah, she makes the bacon. Yep.
She makes the bacon.
She's Counselor Jerry, so she's the voice of Counselor Jerry, which is really that soothing like woman voice. That's the one that I thought was someone else. So I don't know, like I loved especially these like minor characters. I love that those feelings that you get. Pixar does this thing that's great, which is like I don't know how to say the word, but naiveness. They do naiveness so well,
Yeah,
experiencing the world for the first time when like she doesn't know what money is, so she gives a piece of her bagel to the musician,
right.
and like everybody
So good.
everybody in like New York or something would think like God, like that's what they hate the most is when somebody puts food in their hat or something. Or like to take the soda, like somebody left half a soda under this bench. Like there's like moments like that are killer,
Yeah.
are hilarious, and I think Pixar does that just oh so great. And that's what really makes this movie for kids and very enjoyable, because these jokes, every little written thing is just hilarious. And it's like a great movie that you can go see with a kid, and like everybody can enjoy it.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think biggest thing about the story that really hits the kids close to home for me is that like as as a guy trying to be an artist in a lot of different ways, a lot of the story hits hard and for home, like it is that struggling artist, like always pushing, always trying to do the thing that he wants to do, never getting anything until he finally gets his big break and then something happens. Like Joe's story is the story of a lot of struggling artists out there and people who like want to make it in the world, right? And I think in this world that we're living in, we're like, I don't know if you knew this, but like there's been a bunch of tests that are given to kids and they're asked them what they want to be when they grow up, and like the number one choice in America is they all want to be fucking YouTubers, like social media influencers. You know what I mean? Like this is a really good story to kind of pinpoint the feelings of just trying to make it in a world where like you don't know if you will, and if you keep trying, you may not make it. And like what that can turn you into, not a not very pleasant person to be around, or like a not really a person who like is able to live in the world and just be content. I feel that in a lot of ways. I went to my brother's for Christmas, and he just talked to me about how he's just going to remodel his house just because he has the money and the time, and that's like the biggest thing happening in his life. And like in my head, I'm thinking, really, that's everything you want in your life, man? You just is this what like regular life in America is? You just fucking buy a house and figure out how to fucking fix it up all the time.
It's when people. It's just funny, like you said. We were talking earlier about your new adventures that you're going through, and like somebody once told me, like, because I told them like I really need a project. I really need
Yeah,
something like to put my heart and soul into right now. And it was because I couldn't do it at my job at the time, and that's where I usually unload all this energy. And they just told me buy a house. Buy a house, you'll never be done. You'll never not have a project if you just go buy a house. It's like, no, I don't want to. And like, what's funny is like, I don't want to waste my. And it's sad.
yeah,
Like this is some people, but for me personally, I don't want to waste my life just rebuilding a house
yeah.
every time something falls. That's not like something I want to do. my house and my car are something I don't want to work on. I want them to fulfill their purpose in life, and I want to, you know, live through them and
Yeah,
in them, but not like live to like make them better or something. I mean, you know, like we should all, you know, want to make our home nice and you
yeah,
know, but it shouldn't be our end all. And so
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, I totally get that, man. Yeah, this does make you feel what an artist kind of feels, which and like there's that moment where at the end of it, you know, he gets to play he gets to play his gig, and at the end of it, he's outside looking for a taxi, and he's just like, I can't believe this was it. Like, what do I do next?
yeah,
And
yeah,
he really has that reason with himself, like,
yeah.
you know, like now that you know the chase is gone, what do you chase now? And I was just like, you know, and it's nice that like that kind of this kind of movie makes you think a little bit deeper, because to me I was just like, maybe, you know, he just keeps going because I don't know, it sounds like he should inspire others, because he's obviously doing that very well right now, inspiring others to by being a teacher, by, you know,
Yeah,
by showing other people his passion. He's an inspiration, and I don't think he gets that yet, but he will.
for sure. I want to touch on a couple of the directors here. So, one of the directors is the guy who actually is directing Kurt, who has a movie that is on the list of the movies that might get an Oscar nomination this year. His name is I think it's Kemp Powers.
Yeah.
Um, he wrote One Night in Miami, and he's also a writer on Star Trek Discovery, which is interesting right here.
Oh, like
Yeah,
the new one.
yeah. And then the other director is Pete Duchter. I think it's Duchter or Docker. I think it's Doctor. It almost looks like Doctor, but he's the guy who directed Up as well. So
Right.
you can kind of feel that kind of dichotomy there. You know, I'm sure that one director is helping the other with the technology, and the other one's just kind of writing the story, right?
As I saw, Pete Docter has writing credits for Monster, Inside Out, Up, and Soul, which is a
Yeah.
an amazing list.
So there were a few moments in this movie that really kind of like, I want to talk about the world building here, and like the way the direction really kind of put together the world of the afterlife and the world of the real. I like the mechanism by which the afterlife and the regular world combined, and it culminates with that piano scene at the beginning of the film when Joe is doing the audition and he gets into the zone, right? And when he gets into the zone, the world kind of just fades away into blue, and then it's all just blue, beautiful lighting, and it's just him keying into the net to the universe. I don't like you've been a performer. I've been a performer. We know what that feels like. When you really know a piece and you're performing it, and it's really playing off with the audience, and you're just in it. You feel it. You know that you're like disconnected from your body a little bit. I love the way that this story and the direction really kind of brought that home. I want to mention, just because of the fact that it was a piano scene, there's an anime called Your Lie in December, I believe it is. It's a fantastic, and I gotta say, anime, if you're looking for some really good melodrama, holy shit, anime has some amazing melodrama. And Your Lie in November, I believe it is. It's an anime about unrequited love, and at the center of it is a piano prodigy, and the scenes that have the piano, and it's an anime, right? So the anime piano scenes are whimsical and big and huge and beautiful, and that really, to me, in my heart, just because I've seen that harken back to those kinds of scenes, and it really resonated because it's difficult to explain that mode to people. If you haven't been a performer, or you know what I mean, or like someone who is in a competitive, it's even competitive too, right? Like if you're a boxer or something like that, if you're doing something that requires you to use your body and mind and soul together to get in the zone for real. And I love how they use that anecdote to say that that's where humanity keys in to the universe, right? And that's how they kind of brought in the universe in the real world. And it's how like Joe comes back into the afterlife trying to find 22 at the end. I thought that was just beautiful and well made, and really harkens to the true artistry of Pixar movies, and like what that's what they really do well. You know, that's
Oh yeah.
just these beautiful whimsical moments that are just amazing. And I
Yeah, all the
think
jazz scenes were beautiful
yes,
sounding. They used great music. I mean, there was great like Duke Ellington. There was some I can't. There's some Fitzgerald. There was just all sorts of amazing music. I can't name right now off the top of my head, but and those moments, those jazz moments specifically that you're talking about in the even early on in the when he's talking about it in the classroom, and then when we go later on in the into the jazz club, they're all just these beautiful like blues and purples everywhere, and it's a gorgeous it's a gorgeous setting anytime they put us in there. There is like I love the different world. You know exactly when you're in the soul world, obviously,
yeah,
and you know when you're in the real world, and you know when you're in the jazz world, kind of like in that like kind of uh, losing losing your soul into the music
yeah.
kind of type thing. I don't know
I
how.
love I love the it was dude, it was literally the scene from Interstellar. Like, where at the when he falls when he falls into the afterlife, and it
Yeah,
all becomes geometric shapes, and they
yeah,
all fold in on each other. It was directly taken from Interstellar, bro. Like that stuff is what was really beautiful and really well done, right? And you knew exactly what was happening. I also like how the counselors they introduce themselves as basically the
Jerry.
universe and
Oh,
everything,
yeah,
right? At the very, they're like, we are the universe and everything that exists all around all the time always. Hi, and I make myself into this form so that you know what I am.
right.
Yeah, I love those moments and things like that, because like how do you make this world make sense, right? There was one thing that I had a trouble with. Like, apparently the guy, so a Graham Norton's character was just literally a hippie, a hippie dude with a side gig who was just like meditating while he's flipping his sign around. And as he's meditating, these other people are meditating around the world, and they're combining together in the afterlife, and they're just like floating around saving souls. Totally doesn't make any sense. Totally doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Totally taking some literal uh, you know, what do they call it?
Well, no, I think Graham Norton is like a he's one of the lost souls, but he helps other lost souls. And so what I think is like the there's two ways to go into that.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I see
There's
what
two
you're saying.
ways to go in that world, right? One way was the way that we saw where you're playing on the piano and you kind of you get in the zone,
Yeah.
and when you're in the zone, you appear like in the bubble in the air.
Yeah.
But then there's also the way to, and this is the way I took it. Like this is just an observation, I guess. Just, but there's the other way where you you kind of lose your soul in something by just doing it over and over with repetitiveness. So like they took the
Yeah.
stockbroker guy, and the stockbroker guy is just trading on his computer, and he's tapping away, and he's just trading, and he's just like, got to make a trade, got to make a trade. And I feel like to me is like that's what Moon. What was his name? Moon what?
Let's see.
Moonwind. That's what his character does. He
Yeah.
spins the sign. He spins the sign on the street corner to get into that world.
Because that's his zone, right?
Yeah, he's just in his zone, man. And he that's how he gets there. He goes, he saves some people, comes back out of it, and his bigger mission is like in the soul world more than in the real world.
Yeah. Again, kind of like Inception when you walk into that room with a bunch of like monks and they're all in the dream world.
Oh yeah, and the cots. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah,
And the guy's like, in a lot of ways, this world is not real. That world is much real to
to
them.
them, right? Yeah, that's
It is. Yeah, this movie. I mean, this movie is so existential in the way that it presents itself, and like, I love that we're having these movies that are really having us question our identities and who we are, and trying to get us shaken away of this like reality that we're in. you know, not to get too like heady and like in the grace of like metaphysical life and things like that, but like, you know, as a person living in the world, there are two of us, right? There's the one of us that's like the person that has to live in the world, get a job, make sure that we're doing everything right by the book, and making sure that we're, you know, a perfectly a person in society doing the right thing. But then there's also the inside of us that just wants to like be happy and find our good place in the world, and to feel fulfilled, and to feel like we're really happy and doing what we want, you know. Those are two really different aspects of life, you
Yeah,
know.
and like I feel like I fight with myself daily. Like one side, like my soul, you know,
Yeah.
each side of my soul kind of fights each other every day, you know. Like it does feel like, I mean, we have that old cliche of the little devil and the little angel on either side of your shoulders, and that's kind of how I feel sometimes. Is like, all right, so one side of me is going to stay in this job because I need money,
Yeah.
even though it's not what I'm loving to do. When does one win over the other? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when does one win? Because it's just a constant battle. And then, you know, some days you've had it. And you're just like, cool. I'd rather be happy today than have money. And then like, other days, like, rather have money today than be happy. It's like,
Yeah, it is the tragedy of our American life, that fulfilling your soul's wants does not always guarantee you a financial security. You know, like
that is a bigger thing that I think gets said in this movie, with a better description and with more power than has in those other movies that we mentioned earlier. You know that those movies, they all they all have the quest of, you know, kind of getting you, you know, what your real meaning in life is, or, you know, what your real passions you want to be. But this movie really hones in on like finding that middle ground, and knowing that like a purpose isn't just one tracked. It's not one
mhm,
minded. It, you know, like you could have bigger purpose than just playing your instrument, basically. You know,
yeah,
like that doesn't, that's not necessarily a purpose. That's something you like to do, but that's not your purpose. And that's what I
mm,
like. I like that message that they gave earlier. You know, like I was like, what, you know, 22 is trying to get her last star on her emblem, or, you know,
yeah,
just it's like, you know, what was her purpose? You know, was she supposed to be good at walking? And I was like, oh no, it's not supposed to be what you're good at. It's just there to let you know that you're ready to take on the world. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, that was a very interesting, that was a great line and some great writing. Uh,
Absolutely.
I love this movie, man. That just from the pizza scene, I mean, from everything, you know, from the jazz scenes to the trying pizza for the first time. Like it's
I love the rat. when, when he's in the cat and he gets the pizza and he just walks over, and then you just see this random rat walking down. And he just like neat eyes, and the rat's just like,
symbolism. Like they're both dragging pizza. They're like,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right, touche.
Touche. I want to say that Jamie Foxx, I think this is probably one of his better performances. I mean, obviously it's a voice performance, but I really felt I really felt the dynamic of the change of the character with him. I really got annoyed at Joe. Like, there was moments where I was like, bro, like, you want this so bad, and you're just like, every step of the way things are coming up, and you're just kind of like forcing things to happen all the time, and like, and then through 22 experiencing the world, you as the audience are like, bro, like, just enjoy life, look at what's happening, and like, calm down. And then it's the structure of the writing, the really well done writing, where you really do, I think they want you, the writer does want you to kind of feel annoyed at Joe, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
It really does, you know, and you
and it's
feel
also
that.
written for a younger audience, so I think that's where it plays into attention span. And it's like maybe we have the attention span that somebody else wouldn't, so they don't have to portray this specific moment as long. because,
Yeah.
in real movies, whereas in this animated movie that you kind of want to hit that a little harder, just so that your audience stays with you.
Yeah, definitely. And so you feel more engaged in the story, and
Yeah,
you really feel that dichotomy between 22's character and Joe. And it's just a really wonderfully, like, I feel like, again, like, I want to say this just feels like a quaint, like, small movie, because you're really there with these two characters, and the character motivations are not too overarching or big. They're very poignant, and very pointed, and very direct. And that is the simplicity and the brilliance of it. And I really enjoyed Jamie Foxx. I think he pulled a really good performance out here. The scene where he's speaking to his mother through the cat, and then it shifts when he's speaking through the cat, and then it just for a moment, definitely a directing choice. It flips to him actually speaking through his mouth to his mother, the exact things he wants to say to her. It's just a powerful moment, and it's just like things like that, like those little directing
oh,
moments are
yeah.
just sprinkled throughout this movie.
Beautiful moment right there where she finally like kind of agrees with her son.
Yeah,
There's that moment where I was like, oh man, this is a heavy hitter right here. And then
yeah,
she takes her husband's suit, which is his father's suit,
yeah,
and lets him wear it. And I thought that was a great, powerful moment.
yeah,
All in all, I think I'd watch this movie again. I thought it was fantastic. I think Pixar did a great job. I don't know if this was like their uh what you've been saying. This is just such a quaint movie from Pixar. It's quietly going to go down as one of their better movies that isn't immediately watched 1,000 times in every household.
yeah, for
is
sure.
is the way I see it. Is that like this isn't um I can't think of it like this isn't Toy Story or
Yeah, it's not whimsical, right? A lot of it takes place in the real world.
like I remember everybody loved Up and
Yeah,
went to go, like adults went out of their way to go see it and stuff like that. And so just because of the situation we're in, I don't know, that's not going to happen with Soul. I hope it re- reaches more households
yeah,
because of things like Disney Plus, because I think it is worth the watch.
yeah,
I would totally recommend it. What about you?
yeah. Absolutely. I think this is a wonderful movie. I think as an artist, someone who's trying to make it in the world, it really is a good palate cleanser. It's a grounding movie for artists, and I think that's important. And I think it's important for a lot of young kids out there who are wanting to be, in the spotlight and want to be big. It's good to kind of put yourself a little bit down to earth, and realize that, when maybe when you get to that dream and you actually realize the thing you want to do, you may not feel the difference. You might just feel the exact same as you did before, but that's okay, because life is about the journey. It's about the movement towards. It's not about the end point. And it's kind of that's kind of the point of this movie in a lot of ways, because Joe is literally at the end of his life, and 22 is at the beginning of hers, before the beginning of hers, right? And that's just a beautiful lesson, and it's just a beautiful, really well done movie. I really do appreciate it. 100%. 100%.
Well, I think we did it, man.
I think we did it,
This is
man.
a great. This is a good watch. We'll have to think of what to watch next week, or in the week to come. Like if you're out there and you're listening to this, go ahead and leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought about this movie. Tell us what you think about us. Maybe you hate hearing our voices. Maybe maybe you like us. Maybe you agree with us. Maybe you have that good artist story and you can tell us how it related to you or how this movie affected you in any way.
Mm.
Maybe you can tell us what you didn't like about this review. Arnie, I know you got some solo stuff going on. I've seen you all week. You've been going at it.
Heck yeah. So I have a little podcast. It's called The Arnie Diaz Show, available on YouTube and on all the podcasting platforms known to humanity.
Just like us, you can subscribe to us as well on on every podcasting platform, and you can visit us on YouTube at Kinetic Impressions. And I'm I'm Andy.
I'm Arnie.
And what do we always say, Arnie?